Hello and welcome to this video. I'm making this video to show off the MiSTer FPGA running the Minimig Amiga core and some of the features that it has now. I've not tried this before much, so but earlier this week I decided to begin trying it out and seeing what it could do. And I had some goals in mind because I wanted to see if I could get it to also run CDTV games and some CD32 games, and that has actually worked quite a bit. I also enabled RGB, which was a feature they Sorcerer added not too long ago, which means there's high amounts of colors and a higher resolution. So if we go to screen mode here, we can see that it supports 800 x 600, but it can go even higher than this. But the UI generally does not really support those high resolutions, so I don't try to use them. Also got the shared folder to work, but on this setup of Workbench or Amiga OS, it doesn't work fully because I can't actually open it. I haven't figured out why. If I go here, I can access it though as the share folder, and then copy the files. But when I use Workbench 1.3, I have gotten it to work. So that is a bit strange. I need some power to my headset, it seems. This one. So this is a CD, and also found a way to use CDs because you can mount them as a drive. So here we have a CD mounted. It is this CD that's mounted, the Amiga Developer CD version 2.1. Unfortunately, there are a lot of things with the UI for the Minimig that's a bit annoying right now. You can save and load configurations, which is really nice, but it has some issues, like it for some reason does not save the floppy disks you have mounted. And there are some other issues that I haven't really figured out what has done yet, but sometimes there's stuff that just doesn't work very well. Some settings that might not completely work, and you have to reset the whole MiSTer to ensure that it will begin working again. But it'll probably be fixed over time. There's also come some support for the MT32 Pi, which is being developed, and I think it might even have been released. But yeah, first off I want to show how to use CDs. They can be mounted at runtime, but that's not what I have done so far. Oh, we don't need this actually. So Workbench has the storage folder and a DOS drivers folder where it has this CD DOS driver. And when you click info on this, it will show that what it's set up to do. And the default is actually to run as a CD device like this, and with unit 0. But if we change it to a SCSI device with unit 1, actuate 1, then when we click it, it will mount CD0, and we'll see this icon. I have used that for being able to use CDs, but there are other things it can be used for as well. Oh, but another thing is that the reason it's choosing device 1 is that this is where I have mounted the CD. So I can take this. Well, I need to show some more things with this developer CD, so I'll use this as the demonstration, and I'll reset Workbench. And here we have it, but no CD. So I'll just go and click CD0, and it loads the CD. The reason the CD is interesting is because it contains Sim CD32, which is used for developing CD32 games. So we go to CD0, and in the CD32 folder it has some CD32 tools, and one of these tools is Sim CD32, which has some instructions that says to put this on a floppy disk to make a boot disk. So it has a default configuration where it says the parts of this is to run the SimCD32 environment program, and then the SimCD32 mount the CD from a image file, turn off fast memory, assign everything to CD0, and then execute the startup sequence on CD0. So that's what it does here. But I have changed this a bit. So I have different versions, but this is the one I got to work. So I've done several changes to it, because if we check the CD, it doesn't have the prefs folder, it doesn't have a saves folder, it doesn't have the CD32 folder, which it shouldn't need, but I added some extra commands there that might help boot some more games. I also added some more command files. Some of them there already were on the original, but some others just help big stuff run faster and better, I think. I haven't used all of them yet. I might find more uses for these, but some of these files come from a Squirrel CD32 disk, this one. And it has many of these files, but one idea I got was to be able to select, since this SimCD32 is based on loading ISO images, I figured it would be pretty nice to just be able to choose what image file you want to load, instead of having to have several different launch files. Because if we see what this Squirrel SCSI disk does, it takes actually it doesn't do much in on this disk, because this is for making a SCSI floppy disk or adding it to your hard disk install. So and the way you do that is to open the disk and just run SCSI install, which gives several options. And the option I used is the create CD, CD32 and CDTV boot floppy. But it can also be used on a hard disk and other things. But the problem with this is that it expects there to be a real CD drive. So if we take a look at how it is. So here you can see the disk it creates when you run this tool. So it has a startup sequence, which has a set patch, add buffers, and other things. But what I found interesting on this is that well, it also assigns a lot of things, but in this CD32 sequence, it actually does a lot of interesting things. It makes some assigns, but it also checks whether things exist. So so here it assigns T, and if there comes a warning, it assigns. It first checks if the assigned T exists, and then it if there is a warning for that, it will actually try to assign it. Usually, it should happen in the regular startup file, and then it does other things. But so if not exists, so it checks if this does not exist, it skips to the end because it expects there to be a startup sequence on the CD. But it also uses if exists, it will do things with this. And I hope to use this to better support CDTV games, but for now I have not been able to do so. I think I can use SimCD32 to support CDTV games better, but there are a lot of strange quirks with doing this. But there is another thing that this does that is very interesting, because it takes a title mount and stores some values, the CD key and the CD name, and then tries to execute different files depending on what these variables are, which it tests for the CD. It takes the name of the CD and such earlier, and then it actually has tried to make different setups for different games. So here we have device setup, and it tries to use its Squirrel SCSI device to mount things. And then it checks if it has one of these names, and all of these are actually just explaining that it's not supported because they have CD audio or something. But then there are several games that do work or should work, and if it finds one of them, it will have different settings for them. These are individual folders, and these are CD codes to ensure that it's the correct CD. And then it will run this in case it finds the correct CD. Which is an interesting way to do things, but yeah, I used this to make the SimCD32 CD. But one of the interesting things I found was how to mount the CD, and I used this RequestFile command. So the boot up sequence I made for this is so if you remember from earlier, I showed how this file was originally, but things I've added is how to mount the share folder from the MiSTer, so that I can actually mount these ISO files from the shared folder. And I did this by adding the MiSTer file system to this. boot disk, and then I took the I think it's in devs. It has a mount list, and usually it just has CD0, but I added the MiSTer file system as well. So it uses this dummy device as which is part of how the MiSTer file system works. And yeah, this is just a copy paste from how you do it with the MiSTer file system. And this is also just standard using the CD device as it should, and it's based on what the ISO you mount. So I haven't changed that, I only copy pasted the extra things into it. And then I added a sets patch quiet, which might help some things, and then add buffers for the disk drive because it sometimes speeds things up. These were just tests I did because I thought I needed this, but this symbol here, the semicolon, means it won't be running. That's also why all of this up here are notes. This is where it mounts the shared folder, and then I did this earlier, making these resident, but I removed that again because apparently it wasn't needed anyway. So also it assigns environment to RAM, and that's important because when I use the request file, it uses environment in RAM to store variables, and I make this variable called ISOFile to store what file I select using RequestFile. And I have a lot of options set to RequestFile. One is the positive load, which renames the OK button to be a load button instead. And then the draw, which is what draw to start the RequestFile in, and it goes to the share folder that we mounted earlier, and in the share folder it goes into the ISO folder, and it looks for the pattern, which is any file that ends with .iso in the end. And I've changed the title of this to be select ISO file to load. And then it's some of the standard parts of this, except I have changed this line where it mounts the CD. So it now says dollar symbol ISO file in the end, which is the variable we set up here. Then it disables fastmem, and it waits a bit, and this is also standard. And another thing that's standard is that it then assigns system to CD0, which we just mounted up here with this mount CD0 from the mount list. And then it assigns the S folder to the new system folder, which is now system 0. And then I begin checking if these different folders exist, because it varies from game to game. But if it finds a C folder on the CD, it will mount that. And if it finds a devs folder, it will mount that. And so on. This rat folder is a bit experimental because I don't really think that's what's it called. It was an attempt to get Workbench 3.0 working for the CD32. And then after this I begin referring directly to df0 to get the commands. That's what I was doing with this resident. It loads them into RAM, these executables, so that they won't, so that they will stay resident. But yeah, that gave some issues, I think, so I decided to just go with this instead, which means it will have to be a floppy disk mounted to df0. But but that makes sense anyway to keep it there. So it assigns these, and then with libs it actually adds, because then it just have, and it is explained here, and that it adds all the libraries but keeps low-level library, non-volatile, and such. And I've been looking in the CD32 ROM, and I can see that it actually contains these low-level libraries, non-volatiles, and so on, that is on the boot disk, and that's why it's important for these to stay on in the libs folder, and that's why they get merged. And then it ends up assigning the T folder, or RAM to T, which means RAM will be accessible through T. And then it goes to the CD, and it executes the startup sequence on the CD. And then I try to use one of the CD32 commands from the Squirrel SCSI disk to close Workbench, but I'm not sure that actually works. And then I end the CLI, the command line, and I'm also not really sure that works, but it does at least work enough to boot quite a few of the different CD32 games. So let's see what it does. Oh, and some other settings I found helps at compatibility. One thing is I've set it to 2 megabytes chip RAM and 256 megabyte fast RAM. It isn't enough with 8 megabyte, it seems, with the way I've made the boot disk right now. And the ROM, I have actually begun using oh, this is old stuff. The CD32 one is actually the one that makes the most games work. AGA chipset and the 020 CPU. It doesn't really matter what hard disks are used, because we are using the floppy disk anyway. So if I reset now, we'll see how the floppy disk works. And I haven't actually showed the shared folder, but we can see that here now, because we're in the share folder with the ISO file, and it has a pattern, and we can just actually change the pattern if we want to see other files in this. So if I change it to this, and maybe jump around a bit, and parent, and I think, yeah, it'll probably be in this folder where there might be some more files, like now there's a Q file. So if I add this again, there's no longer Q files being shown. So far so good. So now we have a lot of CD32 games, and the ones that support both CDTV and CD32, I can't get those to work. So that's for example Lemmings. It's both a CDTV game and a CD32 game. But then there's Microcosm, which is known as a CD32 game, and it actually runs using this. I'm not sure why these icons are cracked, but I think it's because that boot sequence is actually for the Amiga CDTV, and I found that it's not cracked when I changed the video mode to OCS or ETC in the settings instead of AGA, because with AGA it has those cracked graphics. I hope I can find some way to solve that, but it's needed for SimCD, the specific file. So I'm thinking maybe I can change that some way. This is part of the intro sequence for Microcosm, and I found that it just continues doing this, and there's a bit more to it unless you click on the controller. So it needs to have a controller of some kind connected here, or maybe a joystick would be enough. But since the CD32 has, I think it's 4 buttons. I have a CD32, but yeah, it's been a while since I used it. But I'm pretty sure it has 4 buttons, and also a left and right trigger on the back of it, and a pause button. So if I click this, it actually said something about the FM Towns version, which is interesting. And it actually has the full intro sequence and everything. And I think it's running at full speed, although the audio does seem to lag a bit, but that actually happens on the CD32 as well. I experienced with my CD32. It's a really interesting intro, I think. It's too bad that the game is not really that good. So let's skip on to the game just to show that it fully works. And I think, yeah. I haven't really played it very far. And I'm not going to right now either. So let's reset and see what other games works with this, just to show that it's pretty compatible. But Microcosm is one of those tests that are good because it doesn't usually work when you run it. For example, with WHD load, it doesn't have a way of playing Microcosm. But another test is Simon the Sorcerer. If I pull this down a bit, the graphics aren't as cracked for some reason. And I pulled down the Workbench button because otherwise it's for some reason stays at the top of the screen when the game starts. And then we have the game playing. And I'll just show that that the voice over also works here in the intro.
For my first pulling the dog out of the hat.
The game generally has a bit of trouble with the audio not matching completely and seem to be cut off at places. But that's part of the game itself. That's not because of how the CD32 is simulated. But once he has started talking, like in this intro, as you can see, the audio syncs up better. But when you click on to the next scene, so now I skip the scene, and it goes to the next part of the intro, and then the audio lags again in the first bit. But once it has begun playing the audio, it doesn't lag anymore. So I'll skip again with the B button on the controller. And again it lags for a bit. Actually, it might still be lagging. We can try to listen to... And yeah, some more stuff happens. I'll skip to the game because I want to show something else, which is save games working. So yeah, here and right now I'm using the controller, but I can also use the mouse. Both work since it's CD32. So I can use the postcard and click load, and it actually loads the game that is right now on the floppy disk.
It's my little dog, Chippy. Oh look, there's a pair of scissors here.
So yeah, that plays quite well. And I will show later how I got save games to work, but it has to do with the folders I added with the save game folder and the other folder. But another game that's working is Beneath a Steel Sky. So I have it here just called Bask, but I also have it in this folder, I think, unless I moved it. No, it's still here. And yeah, if I move this down a bit, it'll show the CD icon a bit better. And I don't think this supports saving the game because it has this start from code feature. Which is a bit unfortunate, I guess. But it also has voiceovers, which is nice for an Amiga game, I think. And I'll just show the opening of the game here, where they have some characters that use voiceover.
What do you want? Looking for a saboteur from the Gap. Crashed a chopper and escaped.
So
Sounds dangerous to me.
that works, and I try to skip it.
Not going anywhere. We cut the power to the elevator. And the crash has blocked the water.
Seems I cannot skip it. Ah, I can right click.
whoever you are, it's retribution time. Gotta be clever. Play them at their own game. First thing is to get Joey running again.
Oh, and here's the code apparently, which is just all zeros. I guess using that code we can probably skip to this point in the game instead of watching the intro every time.
Doesn't look as if it's ever used.
So for the next game, I think I want to show something a bit more demanding. Wing Commander CD32 does not work. I'm not sure why. I could run Boing Ball Trilogy, at least to the game selection page. I haven't tried it further than that. Akira also worked. Basque is Beneath the Steel Sky. The Amiga Workbench CD didn't work. I think it's because it's Workbench 3.0 instead of 3.1, but it's not especially important to get that to work since this is not really a CD32 anyway. 200 games might actually not work. But the 100 games one did work. CD32 top. There's also Frontier Elite 2. And let's expand this a bit so that we can see more of the title. Oh, I actually didn't try this yet. There's a port of Heart of the Alien that got ported to Amiga recently. It was only a Sega CD game before that. And the MiSTer does support Sega CD as well, so you can just play that game, but if you like the Amiga, then maybe you want to play the Amiga version instead. So let's try to see if that works. Well, it does something. It looks promising. Click the left mouse button. Oh, I might have clicked past the intro there. I'm not sure what this is. I'm guessing this is a code thing since there's not enough letters to actually... So I'll just click OK. If I can. P maybe. Mouse button, space. Escape worked, but maybe because it quit the game. Let's try another game. I'm pretty sure that game does work, but I just needed to click things differently or something. So What is another interesting game? Gloom. But many of these games does have WHD load versions where you can just load them as part of the hard disk. But this way it's more like a console, since the CD32 is a console. Oh, 2-player combat. I wonder if that's using a link or if it's on the same. And there's some intro stuff, but what I want to show is that it runs pretty well. So here's the screen, which is reduced in size, but if I click plus, I guess not. So let's try the menu. And resolution is already set to high as far as I can tell. Yeah, because it only seems to have 2 settings. Let's try this. And yeah, I think it still runs quite well. The MiSTer, when it's using the 020 CPU, it seems to run a bit like a 100 megahertz 020, which doesn't really exist, but so it makes it a very fast 020. Let's see. Yeah, there are some more games I want to show actually. Because it also has regular CD games, and one of those is Dune. I think this should work, but maybe last time I actually just mounted it as a CD and then ran the games from the CD. Oh, yeah, it doesn't have any boot sequence, so it will require that. I think Amiga Classics should also work. And oh yeah, I have some other games actually that I've wondered whether they work. But so far I don't think I have gotten them to work. I think maybe they are designed for Amiga 4000 or just Amigas with higher expansion cards, like an 030, 040 or maybe even 060. Or some of the special features like FPU or MMU. So yeah, that doesn't work either. So let's try mounting one of them instead. And now it's actually booting still with the CD32 ROM, kick ROM. And it doesn't seem to be that different from the regular ROMs because it just runs fine. So then we mount the CD. And there's an Doom CD. But first I want to show how I got save games to work. So here we have the floppy disks, and I added this to it. So it has to have a folder called prefs, and in that folder it needs to have this env archive, and inside this folder it needs to have a sys folder, and the sys folder needs to contain a file named exactly this nv_location. And then inside this file there needs to be the path to where to put the save games. So I've told it to put it in df0 saves, which is where the other folder is here. And here you can see the save games. It has even created a Microcosm game. So that just shows that it works because that wasn't there before. And we have Simon the Sorcerer save game. And yeah, that's a save game. And with Microcosm, I'm guessing it's really just some settings it has saved. Maybe it's just to make it know that you already played the game once. The T folder doesn't contain anything, and it's just there in case it needs it, because otherwise it's assigned to RAM. Oh, some more comments on how I got this to work. This folder, ASL library, and I'm not sure commodities is actually needed, but I'm certain that ASL was needed because it was part of being able to use the QueryFile command, because it's the library with the different windows and such for doing that. And what more did I do? Yeah, the MiSTer file system, the other files were there before. And then I have these commands from the SCSI one that probably can help make it more compatible. But I'll play around with that. So far I've considered it quite compatible since it ran so many of the CD32 games. And hopefully I can find a way to also run CDTV games better. But I have the Squirrel boot disk I've made, which just has some changes to it. And I think it runs pretty well. It has quite a bit of CDTV games that it can run. But not, again, for some reason, the ones that support CD32 also. Even though generally the CD32 should support all CDTV games because it had some kind of emulation, and I'm not sure how it does that, but I think there was some hardware involved also. So this is a Doom, as it says right here. There's also a C Doom for the Amiga, two different ports of these games. Doom 1, Doom 2. Let's try Doom 2. And I play it using the keyboard. So it doesn't have the music, but it does have the audio, even if it lags a bit. So there's a screen size, there's a graphical detail. I didn't know that was set to low. That might be why it's running as well as it is. Because I think it's running pretty well even when I make this full size. Let's try it on high detail. This game generally doesn't run anywhere close to this well on an 020 expansion or yeah, standard Amiga 1200. So I think that's nice to see. And you can strafe and everything. And I can click the numbers to switch guns, just like in the DOS version. So it runs very much like the original game, except it doesn't have audio. I'm not sure if what versions of Doom does support it. I'm guessing it can save. I'm not sure where it puts the save games if it could. But let's see. Yep, no save game. But I'm pretty sure that if the game is moved to the hard disk, it will work just fine. It doesn't exactly need to run from a CD. It's just a CD I found, and I found it easy to run it that way. There's also an RTG version of Doom that I hope to try out to see how that runs. But the next thing I want to show is the Squirrel CD. I already showed how you began to run the installation for it. And then when you have run the installation, you get this CD32 disk. CD32 boot disk, and if we then go to it and check the folders, we can see the files it contains, and I haven't actually changed most of these files. The only thing I have changed on this is I have gone to the devs folder and the DOS drivers folder, and then I have changed the icon info for this file. And it's pretty similar to what we did on the operating system, because we took the CD file and changed the CD device to SCSI device, and changed unit 0 to unit 1, and it also had a fourth line called flag equal 1, and I deleted that one, so it was like this. Flags, I think it was equal 1, but I just deleted it and saved, and there we have it. And that means that instead of mounting what it thought it would mount before, it now mounts whatever is in this primary slave folder. So let's try some CDTV games. What did I get to work? King's Quest 4. It only has the audio for some reason and nothing more. Raid over Moscow, a new game made recently, does run. And I haven't tried these two yet. Indiana Jones might run, but it's in German, so I haven't really tried it. I'm not sure if this one worked. Dune CDTV works. Oh, and there's another thing though. One of the strange things here is that it's pretty picky about what settings to use. The settings that does make sense, let's just load them actually. So you can see here is a setting with a custom kick ROM with SCSI support for the Amiga 500 kick ROM 1.3. But for this I actually need to use the Kickstart v3.1, and I think it's the Amiga 500 version of it. Because otherwise it actually won't work. Some other settings I have here is I think this is the disk I am using, a Workbench 1.3 boot disk, and yeah, it doesn't show what is actually selected in these. That's a bit annoying, but let's pick a CD32 game, a CDTV game I mean. I think to begin with I'll show one of these Amiga CDTV collections, and the boot disk is this one as I showed before, and I'll reset. And while it's resetting, because it takes a bit while to boot actually, I'll show that the image I'm using is this one, which I just suspect is for the Amiga 500, because the one further down doesn't work. I haven't tried all of them, but I have tried a few. And the 3.0 one doesn't work, and I'm not sure, maybe the 2.0 could work, but I'm guessing not. And it does also need the RAM, I think. And yeah, the CPU definitely needs to be the 68000 one, not the 020. The chipset seems to be able to be. I could probably even set it to AGA actually. It doesn't seem to be much of a factor here. But yeah, this one needs to be the game that you're going to run. I'll try resetting again. And yeah, it seems to be working this time, maybe. Or did it reset that? It boots a bit differently when it's working. So I'll try to see if maybe it's the ROM that I need to change, because it might have been set to another one. And I'm wondering what exactly it is about that image. ROM image that makes this work. It was pretty random that I got it to work like this. I had actually I figured I had to switch to the 1.3 kick ROM, but the 1.3 kick ROM cannot read this boot disk, because I guess it's formatted in a way that it can't read. still does not work. Maybe it's one of these cases where I have to reset it to get it to work. Oh, that came. Well, that's the slightly annoying thing about this is that it actually runs these commands it runs in the configuration. They need it to restart a few times and then it works. So you have to give it some time. But let's try something. So DuckTales is always one. Some of these games though, they don't load the right way. It seems that it doesn't manage to close the workbench in the background or something. And that makes the game later on run really slow. And the CDTV had keyboard and mouse, so the games expect you to have this. And skip. And I'll take easy money. So yeah, it uses a joystick, but and you might notice that the graphics are a bit blurred sometimes, and I think that's part of the settings here, because it's using a scan doubler. So let's try this one instead. Oh, I actually have to control him, I guess. Some of his other disc does not seem to work all the time, or maybe it's just some of the games. I think it was Lemmings that ran really slowly, but it might have been on the later CD. And here we go. And it's back, and I can run Christmas Lemmings. See if it actually fully runs. And it seems it does. So I think with some of the later CDs it changed something that doesn't seem to be fully compatible with this. Uh-oh. I wonder if I can quit the game actually. Some games support quitting. I'm just not sure if that means you can play more. Yeah, it seems it can. yeah, it doesn't like that. I somewhat suspected that. Oh wait, I need to select another game. I also guess there's nothing much special about this game. It's the Dune game, but I think the WHD load version of this game does the same. It just makes it so that you don't have to swap CDs. And here we go. And there's no voiceover in this game. But I do think the game is 12 megabyte or something instead of... I think originally it was probably just a few discs, but it might be other things than the game that's part of that. So yeah, there's an intro and everything. Let's try another one. This one I wasn't sure if it works. Because I don't think I tested it after I set it up correctly. Oh yeah, I had tried this. It does this, and I'm not sure what to do about it. Clicking the controller doesn't help, clicking the mouse doesn't help. So I think it's bugged. Classic board games did seem to work. The later Amiga DA collections had the issue I talked about where it seems slow. I'm not sure if this is a CDTV CD. But the Boing Ball is quite the classic, so I think we should try it. Interesting. So I'll just load the other configuration. So it was this one. And it's set up to use the Amiga CD32 kick ROM. Uh-oh. Assign unknown command. I should be able to fix that, because it shouldn't be unknown. It is on the disk. Let's try and see. So again, here it is, and it's running a sign directly from DF0 every time, except let's see. Oh, that's silly. And that actually means the same thing goes for this. And NCLI I found is actually built into the ROM. So now it should be slightly more compatible. And I think I will just mount this CD here, so that I can also try it without running as a CD32. So I'm pretty sure that this is the Boing Ball Demo. That is pretty famous for on the Amiga. And something seems to be happening. Oh yes. The logo is interfering, it seems. That's interesting. But there we have the Boing Ball. So now I'll try to see how it runs on the Workbench. Oh, yeah, it is. Oh, that's interesting. I thought it was a CD32 thing, but apparently it's actually made for the CDTV. Oh yeah, no disk in DF0, but it's in CD0. What is this? How does that even work? Yeah, I think that might be part of how CDTV works. But it's still strange that this then actually does run using CD32. Let's try executing. There. Boom. The Boing Ball. I guess it can't be quit once it's loaded. But I also wanted to try other ones. Because the CD folder here I made so with games that I don't think requires a CD32, but actually needs just a CD, just an Amiga, high-end Amiga with a CD drive. So here we have OnEscapee, which is a bit like Flashback, but actually a bit more advanced. Or, well, it's interesting at least. But it requires pretty high-end Amiga. And I haven't tried running it on this, and so far it looks promising.
What would it be like there? Maybe like heaven, or like hell, or like hell. No one came back. What happened to the TV? What is this noise? Is there anybody out there?
Still seems to run well. That's a bit impressive, I think. It's not using CD music because it doesn't support CD music, or and even yeah. And let's skip the intro. OnEscapee, and here's the game. It's pretty difficult. I have gotten it to run on WinUAE, I think it was. And I found a way to get past that wood stop, and then other stuff comes to kill you. And I think if I run into the fence, it'll hurt. Nope, it seems it's just a wall. Oh yeah, that's how it was. You roll through it. And uh-oh. That's one way to get past it, I guess. I'm pretty sure I need to jump here. Uh-oh. I'm not very good at this. And I died. Oh wait, I wonder if I can quit the game. Oh yes. I've also tried installing some games. SimCity 2000. I didn't know that had an Amiga version, but apparently it does, and it can run on this machine, but it doesn't run very well, I have to say. It was very laggy. And here's another CD32 emulator. It's from the IDE 97. But yeah, this is the one I found interesting to see if it can run here. Maybe it just failed. Attempting to load program. I guess it fails. It requires a real-time clock. I'm guessing maybe I'm missing Blaze WCP. Pretty sure I've seen Blaze here somewhere. Maybe it doesn't have Blaze WCP. I also have the Eye of the Beholder games AGA version, but I need to copy some files to the libraries for them to work. There's a hard disk version of Flashback. I think this is based on not WHD load, but an alternative called JST, I think it's called. But that's not much, nothing much special about it. So, except that since it's not WHD load game, you don't have a quit button, I think, like WHD load games usually does. Then there's Simon the Sorcerer. Number 2, which I think is interesting, but I don't believe I have ever gotten this to work on the Amiga. It even has an install. I'm not sure why that is. Paula, UAE, file save, file save. DMA. Don't really have any idea what these settings do, so I'll just try this. Oh yeah, I have RGB, so I guess I can actually use that for this game. This should be fine, I guess. Maybe RGB actually makes it work. Although it didn't seem like it needed RGB. Not too promising. I'll try to see if it has a README file. The final words. As usual, you can switch between text and speech mode using T. Yeah, in Simon 1, at least for the CD32, you actually only had the voice. For some reason they didn't make a version with both things. And it might be the same with Simon the Sorcerer 2, where you have to either have the text or the voice. But I don't see this mentioning anything about special requirements. I'll try to just install it. Interesting. This is probably because I tried to use the shared folder. And maybe also because of this other issue I have with it. So let's do this instead. Say, oh no, no, no. Huh? I was actually installing it in the wrong location, but on the actual hard disk. I'm not sure where I was installing it. But let's try again. Still the same problem. So maybe some files are actually missing, and that might be why it's not fully working. And this folder probably has a lot of files in it. Oh. Or maybe it's just corrupt. That could explain a few things. That's strange. Yep, I was pretty sure I had mounted it. I guess that CD doesn't work. But I'll still just try. Yeah, says it has no disk, even though it should be. So that's some of the things I've gotten working. As I showed, Squirrel CD32 comes from the Amiga Developer CD, which can be googled and found. The Squirrel SCSI disk, I'm pretty sure I also just googled that and found it somewhere. I'm also pretty sure that both of these have copyright on them, and so I can't just share them. But I can share my configuration files, so I'll link them in the description. But the last thing I want to show is booting from a hard disk with Workbench 1.3 and Kickstart 1.3. And this is using a custom kick ROM I found a tutorial that I will also link in the description on how to create this kick drum. And there's a version of the MiSTer file system that actually works with Workbench 3, and as I said much earlier in the video, for some reason it works better for this. I'm not sure what I did different. I can't really find the difference. But yeah, it just shows everything. And I should be able to run things as well if I wanted that. And I have some CD32 games installed. The JST, but I haven't installed the JST executable yet, so I can't actually run these games. I'll try to try that out later. But the games that do work is yeah, not Org Attack, but these games do work. So Shadow Sorcerer, for example. Wait, does that actually work? There was one of them. Yeah, this was the one that had these graphical errors. It might be because I'm using ECS chipset, and for some reason it might need OCS. But the other gold box games are working, and also that's not really a gold box game, so that could also be one of the reasons that it doesn't run as well as these other games. Oh yeah, I installed sysinfo and directory obus and diskmaster and Amiga. Because directory obus 4.12 works for this version of Workbench and the kick ROM. So here you can also browse disks, and the share folder works. Amidog is a bit interesting because, well, right now it's not working. I think you have to install it first. But it makes a launch bar where you can add special things that you want to run often. And with the games, yeah, the gold box games works. I just made hardware installs of them. Champions of Kryn, Dragon Strike, Hillsfar. I think Shadow Sorcerer doesn't work, but I think Hillsfar, Savage, Kryn and Pool works, so it's just the Kryn trilogy, and then it's Gateway and Treasures of the Savage Frontier, and Pool is the Pool games, so Pool of Radiance, Curse of the Azure-Borns, Treasures of the Silver Blades, and Pools of Darkness. But yeah, sysinfo just really shows that this has been set up to be as compatible as possible, which means it's pretty close to the 7 Hz that the Amiga originally was. And that's about it what I have to show. There's also the HRT mon, which can help to watch machine code and such, but I haven't figured out how to use it yet. Memory settings, I haven't explored them much. So there's the 0.5 megabytes of RAM for the Amiga 1200, and all the way up to 2 megabyte with 0.5 megabyte increments. And then you can have 0 fast RAM, but up to 8. But that's only because the CPU is set to this one. So if I change it, I'm pretty sure it ties to the CPU, because yeah, then I can get up to 384 megabytes of fast RAM. And that can also be 1.5 slow RAM. And yeah, there's all kinds of different ROMs. I tried making a custom ROM, like a 1 megabyte here of the CD32, but it doesn't really work. There, errors boot. There's also errors, but I don't think that works because it needs an extended ROM, so it has 2 ROM files, and for now the MiSTer Minimig doesn't support using 2 ROMs. So I tried making custom ROMs where I combined 2 ROMs, but they don't work either, like this 1 megabyte CD32 ROM. And it just stays gray. Yep, that's what I had for today. I hope you liked the video. If you have any questions, you can ask in the comments. Bye again.